Hi guys, Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create a few animal print canes and then we're going to turn it into a necklace. So I've already done a YouTube video on how to do a zebra cane, so I'll provide a link to that and you can go and check that out. But for now we are going to be creating a tiger stripe cane. So I provided 4 colour recipes, and so this is colour number 1, number 2, number 3 and number 4, and then this is just plain white, and they're all done with Premo. And I've just sculpted them quickly into triangles so that we can do a skinner blend. Now I'm just going to pop those together. And now if your skinner blend doesn't fit into your pasta machine, you can use my skinner blend triangles and it will fit. Those cutters were created so that no matter what skinner blend you're making, you can make all the way up to a 10-part skinner blend and you will still be able to fit it into an 18-inch pasta machine. So if you're having trouble with that, do check that out. I'll provide a link to that in the links below. Okay, and there we are. I've got this. I'm now going to go and do a skinner blend and then I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Okay, so here is what our skinner blend looks like. And it looks really nice. You can see that it's got a slight sparkle to it due to the gold, but not too much of a sparkle. So now what we want to do is we want to turn this into a long skinner blend. So what you'll do is you'll just fold it in half. And I'll just smooth out that air bubble. Yeah. Okay. And then I will fold it in half again. And then I'm just going to pinch it gently along the sides to thin it out. And we're going to use this to create a skinner blend plug. And then I'll just tap in the edges, get rid of any wrinkles and things, and then you'll run this through your pasta machine from thin end to thin end. Okay, and so now you should have a nice long blend. And then what you'll do, you'll simply start folding like so. And you'll just do that up the entire length of your skinner blend. And the goal is to get your skinner blend as long as possible. The longer it is, the better your blend will turn out in the end. It will just look a lot smoother. So get it down to the thinnest setting if you can, or as thin a setting on your pasta machine as you can possibly go without ripples. And then just start folding and continue until you've used up your entire skinner blend. Okay, and so here is our skinner blend plug. So what we want to do now is we want to kind of get it more into a square shape. So we'll use a roller for that, just to gently flatten it out, and then I'll use my fingers to press against the sides. And now our goal is not to reduce it, because we still want to insert our stripes. The goal is to just get it into a nice square shape and to get all the sides even, like so. And just continue molding it until you're happy how it looks. I mean, it would be even better if you could get it into a rectangle with the long side going with the skinner blend. So just continue squishing and flipping and moving it around. You don't want to spend too much time on one side, any one side in particular. You just want to be reducing it equally. And don't worry if a little bit of dirt gets on the outside, that's fine. Okay, so I'm actually trying to get it into a rectangle shape with the Skinner blend running along the long side of the rectangle. And the thing is, I said don't worry about dirt. If you do see a bit of a mark of clay, you can get rid of it. But for the most part, you're going to be squishing this. So some of the pigment from this clay can get on the white. As you can see, it's got more yellow. So I don't worry too much about that. Okay, and then once you've got it into a rectangle, you don't want it to be too thick. I'd say a maximum of 2 centimeters thick and a minimum of 1 centimeter thick, because otherwise it's going to be a bit difficult to reduce later on. But you don't want it too thick, because that will make putting the stripes in a little bit difficult. Okay. And so I think I'm happy with that. Now you're going to need some black, and I've just rolled this out into a log. And I want to reduce this. And that shouldn't be too difficult. And we're going to be making our stripes from this black. And again, I'm using Premo. Okay, also you can use any brand you want. You're going to need slightly different color recipes, but use the base of the color recipe that I gave, and you can basically make it with any clay you want. So if you're using Kato, you could replace the burnt umber with brown, and the orange with Kato's orange, the gold with Kato's gold, and the white and black with Kato's black. So don't worry about using the exact brand of clay that I am using. Okay, and we've got reduced that down to basically the right size. And then you want to chop off a segment that's a little bit thicker than your clay. So the best way to do that is just do that. There. So just chop it off, and it's a little bit longer than your actual block. And then you want to mold this into the shape of the stripe that you want. So first thing I want to do is flatten it out, and then I want to pinch each of these ends and lengthen it out a bit. And take your time doing this. Maybe go and have a look at some photos of tigers, see what their stripes look like and how they are put together. That will help quite a bit with the creation of your stripes. But in general, it's just kind of like a really long surfboard. Okay. And just make sure that you're happy with it, and then I'm going to chop this in half, because I should be able to fit 2 in quite happily. Okay, and then depending on where you want to put it, you will just make an insert into the clay, and I'm actually just going to chop it here, because I want to place it in like that. And then make sure you press this back together well. It'll just make life a lot easier later on. And now that was a fairly short stripe. You can make longer stripes, you can make shorter stripes. Some of the stripes you might only want sitting along the edge here. So I'll just demonstrate that quickly. You might only want that there. And then you can trim off that black later on. But just continue inserting the stripes as you want them to be in here. And then when I'm done, I will show you what it looks like. Okay, and here is what it looks like so far. So I finished putting in all of the stripes, and so now I am busy trying to reduce it down. Because what we want to do is we want to then cut it in two, and we want to almost mirror it. You can either do it white on white or brown on brown. We'll see which one looks the best when we are done. But for now, we want to try and reduce it nicely and evenly. And take your time doing this. It can take a little while, and you don't want to rush it. So just remember to press on the front. Don't let any of the sides bow out or anything like that as you're trying to reduce it down. We want to reduce it in a rectangular shape, if you can manage to do that. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult and ends up being a square. We can fix it later on if that happens. But for now, just busy reducing. And this can take a little while, especially if your cane is fairly large, like this one. And then once you've got it reduced to a certain size, you can start using your roller. And what I suggest is use the roller mainly in the middle of the cane, and then start reducing out. So hopefully you can see what I mean by using it mainly in the middle. Instead of me rolling the entire way out, I'm just pressing in on the middle, which is getting the cane to reduce. And then I can worry about the rest later by simply pressing on it and using my hands to reduce it, because I find that I have more control if I reduce using my hands. My main goal is to try and keep it even as I'm doing this. I don't want it to be bending inwards. And so I'll just continue until I've reduced it down to the size that I would like. Okay, so I've reduced it down, and here are the cane ends. And you can use these in many different techniques to use them. You can make leftover clay from it and then make some texture stamps. You could use them in the Tasha beads, you could use them in the Starry Night technique, Stroppel cane, leftover kaleidoscope, many different things. So keep those, and do have a look at my YouTube channel to see what sort of leftover clay techniques you can use with those. Because when you're making canes, you are going to have a little bit of leftovers. Okay, and so this is what we are left with. And what I want to do is I want to chop it in half, and now we can either put it together like this, or we can put it together like this. And personally, I prefer this the best. This decision is completely up to you. You could do it the other way round if you liked. But I definitely like this one the best. Though, I think we might have enough clay to do it. Maybe not. I'm just going to chop this in half again. I just want to see something quickly. We can build up this cane. Yes. Okay. Because I want to try and keep it square without shortening these stripes, because I want to keep these stripes nice and long. So I'm just going to pop them together like that. Now let me just take these two apart so that you can see what the other way would look if you put the white and white together. See, the other way would look like that. So both of them look really nice, and I'm actually almost warming up towards that one a bit more. So it's completely up to you, but I definitely do prefer the brown on brown, because I guess that's more natural. But if you couldn't make a decision, you could just keep them separate like this, and then you could put the two pieces together later on when you wanted to make something. But I do want to reduce this down. So I'll put these two together, and we've got them in a nice square now, which is exactly what I want, because it means that these stripes won't get shortened out, because you don't want them to be short, and you want them to be nice and long. And I'm just going to use a little bit of reduction to cement these pieces together. And this is what your tiger cane is going to look like. And now there's a difference between a tiger stripe pattern and a zebra pattern, and if you watched my zebra stripe tutorial you will see that I used a completely different technique for the zebra stripes. The zebra stripes are a lot more random compared to the tiger stripes. The tiger stripes are a lot more pointed and almost look like flames flickering, whereas the zebra stripes almost kind of intertwined into each other and look kind of like branches. So there definitely is a difference. So if you're trying to make zebra stripes, please don't use the same technique as used with the tiger stripes. It will look much better if you use the zebra technique. Anyway, I'm just going to chop this now. Yeah, and here is what it looks like. Really happy with how that turned out. So now we've got tiger stripe and we've got zebra stripes. So next one that we're going to move on to, I think, will probably be a leopard stripe cane. So I'll just chop off this one end as well, because I want it nice and clean, ready for us to use in our project. And there we go. So now we're going to move on to the leopard stripes. Oh, spots. Okay, so now we are going to move on to our leopard print cane. And so we're going to need some more colour recipes for this, and I have done them over here. And so this is colour number 1, this one's colour number 1 as well, number 2, number 3 and number 4. And now I've split this into two because we're going to be doing two skinner blends here. We're going to be doing one skinner blend with Premo Black and colour number 1, and then a skinner blend using colour number 1, 2 and 3, and then this is going to be used later on once we have got some of our pieces assembled. So to create a skinner blend, just quickly squish your clay into triangles and do it from dark to light. And you'll basically do the exact same as we did in the last part of the tutorial, except instead of making a skinner blend plug, we're going to be making two skinner blend bullseye canes, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment, as soon as I have completed these skinner blends. Just mould them into a triangle and then pop them together like that. So colour number 1, 2 and 3 like that, and then this one is fairly straightforward. So I'll create the skinner blends and then show you how to create a skinner blend bullseye cane. Okay, so now we have two skinner blends and I've stretched them out lengthwise just like we did for the tiger stripe one. And now instead of folding it like we would for a skinner blend plug, what we are going to do is we are going to actually end up rolling it. And now the direction of the colours is fairly important. With the black to kind of bronze colour, you want to roll it black to bronze, so the bronze has to be on the outside. For the other one, where it is kind of a almost like a burnt sienna colour to bronze, you want to roll it from the burnt sienna colour to the bronze, from light to dark. And then for the black and bronze, you want it from dark to light. And all you do is you just simply roll like this. It's very easy. And then once we've got those two, I can show you how we're going to assemble those plus our last colour into a leopard spot cane. Okay, that's one. Now I'm going to do the other one. Okay, and here are our skinner blends. So what we want to do is we want to reduce each of them, and I'm going to be reducing this one first, because this is going to be our spots. And then the other skinner blend, bullseye cane that we have, is going to form the black spots around it. So I just want to reduce this a bit so that I can maybe get out maybe around 10 pieces from it. And the other one's going to be reduced quite a bit further. And you can use different colours if you want. This is just my personal colour recipes that I'm using. But if you feel like you want it maybe a bit more orange or a bit more yellow, a bit more brown, feel free to make your own colour recipes. Have a look at some photos, see which ones appeal to you. There's quite a wide array of different colours, so or slight variations in the colour. See which one you like the best and then make some colour recipes to match, and then you can have your own leopard spot cane. Okay, and there's our little Skinner blend, and you can see it has a nice dark ring around it, which is nice, but it's not too big a ring. Now I'm going to reduce this one, and this one's going to be quite a bit smaller. Okay, and so here are our two canes, and so now I'm just going to put this one to the side, and I'm going to cut this into sections, equal sections that is. And then later, once we're finished with this, we're going to wrap it with that other colour that we made earlier, that we have put aside. And you're probably going to need quite a bit more of that colour than the other colours that I showed, simply because it's going to be the colour that is going to be used to pack the cane. There we go, we all have those. Now we're going to take each one individually, and I'm going to cut out maybe 4 blacks for this one, or possibly even 5, let's see. I'll cut out about 5 and then I'll see if I like it. Okay. And then what you want to do is you just want to pop these on in random... Actually, before you do that, you don't want to do that just yet. Bring over a credit card or something of that line. Bring over some sort of card and use that to gently press into your spot cane. You don't want to be doing this with the black. Just to kind of give it a little bit of a ruffle. And then pop your blacks on at random points. And these points are completely up to you. Okay, and then just gently flatten them a bit against the side. And I like to do that generally by just lightly rolling. Not rolling very hard, because you don't want to be flattening it out completely, but just enough that it flattens and adheres to the piece. And you want to go and do that with all of your canes like these. And vary the number of spots and where they sit on the cane. Okay. So now the next step after we've made all of these is to wrap them in our last colour. And so I've just taken that and I've rolled it out on my thickest setting into a sheet so that I can just wrap these around. And if it's giving you a little trouble, you can just stretch these a bit so that they fit properly. Okay. Just cut that and roll it up, and then roll a little bit and then retreat, and you should have a line there, and you should be able to see exactly how much you need to wrap it perfectly. Do this with each of your canes. And now some of them, what I want you to do is I want you to wrap maybe 2 layers around it, while some you wrap 1 layer, so that it gives it a little bit more diversity. And then also you should have some of this cane left. Take some of these and wrap them in here as well. So all you would do is you just take your cane, just go trim off that end. I will pop it over there. Excuse the dog, she keeps on barking. Just take it and wrap like that. And just maybe do 5 or 6 of them, depends on you. But spots like this do occur as well. Not as common as these, but you do want some of them. So I'll go and do that, and then when I am done, I'll show you what to do next. Okay, and so now we have all of these finished, as you can see. So I'm just going to pop those over to one side, and I just need to do one last thing before we can assemble. I've taken a little bit of that last colour that I have left and rolled it into a log, and I just want to cut out some pieces. And it doesn't matter too much what the size of the log is, as you can hopefully see it kind of varies. I've just rolled it out into a log with varying sizes along its length. There we go. And we'll just put that into the mix as well. So I'll start with this one, and I'm just going to pop something onto the end there, and then I want to pop in one of these. And it's completely random. There's not really much thought process going into this part of it. It really is completely and utterly random as far as all these pieces getting put together. Just try and fit them together in such a way that they fit nicely. You don't want pieces that are kind of struggling to fit together. And that's why I kind of like these, because they're going to plug in some of the holes that might appear. And just make sure they're all the same height too. That's also important. And let me see if I can find a double wrapped one. Here we go. I'm really excited to see what this looks like once I've reduced it. And I'm trying to get it into a somewhat of a square, because I would prefer if we can reduce it in a square so that if there aren't enough spots, we can put some more in by just cutting the cane in half and placing it back together. And I don't want to deform it too much by having to take it from a somewhat round shape and placing that into a square. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm just gonna put these pieces all together. The best way that I can get it to fit. And let me see if I put those. I want to put one more here and one more there, I think. Okay, and that's it. And you can put more in, you can put less in, it's completely up to you. Depends on how many spots you ended up making. Now I'm going to reduce this in a square shape, and it's pretty much square shape. You just need to gently coax it a little bit more to get it into a square. And let me see if I can find some more of these little bits. Here we go. I just want to pop it in here, just to help with that. Okay, And now I'm just going to reduce this, and then I'll show you what it looks like once it is reduced. And just try not to let it reduce unevenly. You want these pieces all sitting nicely together so you reduce the amount of waste that you're going to have at the end of the project. Okay, and I'll show you what this looks like once I have finished the reduction process. Okay, and so I've reduced it down, and I'm just going to slice off these ends. Okay, and here's what it looks like. And so I do want some more spots. There's not really enough there. So I'm just going to quickly stretch this a little bit more so it's even. Cut it in half and trim off these ends. And I'm gonna just, it would make a cool kaleidoscope, but I don't want it to actually match up, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and kind of pop it together in such a way that these pieces don't line up in any way that makes it look like a kaleidoscope, because I want it to appear random still. Okay. And I'm just going to continue to reduce that. And again, all these little leftover bits and pieces that you are getting from these, please do go and check my YouTube channel. I actually have an entire playlist on there for a bunch of different leftover techniques. I think I have over 10 techniques on there that use leftover clay, so please do go check it out, as all these leftover bits and pieces from the canes are actually the best leftovers you can have, because they just create some really interesting veneers or beads depending on what you make with them. Okay, and this is going to be our leopard spot cane. And now we might have enough canes. I'm going to decide. I have been wanting to make a snake skin cane, a giraffe cane, a wild dog cane, and a snow leopard cane, but we might leave that for another tutorial, depending on how I feel. We might want the giraffe cane just to finish it off, but I will have to see. This will probably be enough, because I don't want to make too many so that they can't be used nicely in our project. Okay, and there's our leopard cane. Quite happy with that. And there are other canes. So that is probably enough. I might do one more, we will see. And then again, here are our leftovers. Keep all of these pieces. And this is some leftovers, because I had some leftovers of this. I'm probably going to mix it into here, but you can use that later on for other projects. So I'll go and pop that away, and then we'll move on to the next step in our project. Okay, so I've decided that I am not going to make another animal print cane, because I think this should be enough for our project. So what we want to do now is, I've decided I am going to make tube beads. So you're going to need a piece of white. It doesn't have to be pure white. This is a good place where you can actually use your dirty white, because it is going to get covered up by our canes, but I'm using white instead of leftover clay in case some of it does show through, and because you are going to be able to see it on the ends of the tube beads. So you do want something that looks appealing. and just trim the edges so that you have a nice clean cut. There we go. And this was rolled out on my thickest setting, which is about 2 millimeters thick. And then just take a skewer and gently curl the clay around the skewer. And this can be a little tricky because the clay does not like to stick to the wood. So just take a little bit of time and patience to get it right. And just roll it down and roll it back a little bit. And this should leave you where you need to trim. And then just roll the rest of the way. And you can see that this is some of my dirty white. You can see I've got little prints and things on it. And that's fine. Now just take your finger and smooth along that seam line. Because you don't want that seam there. There we go. And then I'm just going to stretch it out a little bit along the length of our skewer. And then just stretch it so that it's nice and tight against the skewer. Okay, and then I like to just trim off these ends because they get a little wonky. Okay, now you put that to the side, and I'm going to be using my tiger stripe for this one. And I'm going to need to cut a few slices and cut it thin-ish, not too thin because you're going to be sanding, so you don't want to worry about breaking through into the white while you are sanding. But you want it thin enough that you're not going to be adding too much extra clay to the clay that you already have on the skewer. And because the thinner you have it, the more slices you'll be able to get out of it. Okay. Just going to move these out the way. And now you either have a choice of doing it along the plane like this, and if it joins up pretty nicely like that, then you could do it along the length like that, but this is not quite wide enough for that, so I'm going to be doing it along the length like this, and then that means I get both the white and the brown. Hope that made sense. And then don't worry about the seam. Just gently press it together and smooth if you can. And there's a little break in that cane there. So I'm just busy smoothing that off. Okay, and then I'll move on to the next one. And just hold on a second. There we go. And try to get the seam in the same place each time. It helps. Okay, and I'll just continue doing this along the length of my skewer, and I'll do the exact same for all of our other animal print canes. And then when you're done, just gently smooth that seam between the two cane slices by gently rolling, and I'll just continue up the length. Okay, and so here is how it looks now that I am done with that. Now you want to put on gloves because you want to avoid fingerprints, and you want to roll along the length and get it nice and even. And this is to remove fingerprints, it's to remove seams that might have occurred while you were joining your pieces together. And then just give it a little stretch every now and then and that is what your pieces should look like. And now there might be some areas that you're not so keen on, like there might be an area where there was a little bit of a seam that was very hard to get rid of. Like over here, I'm not too keen on this area and I'm having quite a bit of trouble smoothing out that seam, so I'll probably end up cutting out that piece over here, but that's fine. So just trim by rolling it along the length, and then there's your 2 beads, and then I'll just trim up the edge here, giving it a gentle slice. And this is why I wanted you to use white, because it's a lot more pretty than if there was leftover clay there. Okay, and so that's your 1 tube bead, and I'll just take off that yucky piece. And now I wouldn't worry about getting the tubes all the same length. I think it would look quite nice if they're slightly different in size. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and trim them round about where the seam is, and just gently remove that seam, because it is visible by the slightest of margins, but it is still visible. So I'll just remove that bit. And then I will just continue trimming off these tubes as I like, and you can see that I'll probably end up with about 2 sizes. We'll see, but I do want to make the sizes somewhat random because I think that will look quite nice. And then I will do this with all of the animal canes that I have shown you. And then I'll show you how to mount them so that they bake properly, and then we can start finishing off our pendants. Okay, and so here is what you'll do to bake them. You'll pop them back on your skewer, and you'll form a little lump of leftover clay on each side of the skewer, just to prop it up so you don't get any flat spots. And you'll pop that in the oven with a sheet of plain printing paper under and over the top of them, and you'll bake that for a full hour. And then these have been baked already. When they're baked, you'll just take off these little bits, and they should come off fairly easily. And just keep those for later. And then you should be easily able to slide these off. And there are your pieces. And now these are really long. These aren't too long, so they should be just fine. But if they're quite long and you want to give them a curve, what you can do is you can, while they're still fairly warm, fairly hot and flexible, you can take them and you can either hold them until they cool down in a bent shape, or you can put them on, you can slide them through their hole onto a curved object and allow them to cool. But I want to keep them straight like this. Now what we need to do is we need to sand them. And now this is going to take a little bit of time, but the best way to do it is to find some sort of an object that you can just slide this on slightly, enough that it's going to hold it in place, like that. And so I'm just using a skewer with a more rectangled body rather than round. And take your polishing papers or sanding paper, whatever you have, and depending on how you like to sand, just hold it and then rotate as you sand, and go through each of your grits like that for each one. And now I'm only going to go up to about my 1000th grit. I have an 8000 grit on here, but we are going to be covering this in varathane, so I don't want to put it up to a really high grit because it's not really necessary since we're going to be varnishing it. I'm just sanding to get rid of any imperfections. So that should be fine for that one. Then I'll bring over my next grit, which is a 600, I do believe. And again, you'll just rotate. I need to take off my gloves to do this. And I've got another batch in the oven because I wanted to make some more, because I'm not sure how long my necklace is going to be. There we are. And I've got 2 more polishing papers to go through. And this is just to get off any dirt or debris or spots that you might have possibly had on your bead. And having it stuck like this while you're polishing makes it a lot easier. And there we go, that's how much time you should spend per bead. And then when they're done, just pop them off and go and pop that off to the side and move on to the next one. Okay, next you're going to want some Varathane or Pearl X varnish, and just take some sort of stick and make sure you give it a good stir. Don't shake it or anything. If you are able to shake it, stirring will work just fine. Okay, and just get rid of the varnish on there. I'll put that to the side. Okay, and then you'll want to have put your beads onto wire. And just make a hook on each end, like so, so that it doesn't slip off. And then you'll want to have somewhere where you can actually dry them. So I've done one for each. And what I'm going to do is I'm just gently going to bend the wire. Like so. And I am going to dunk my beads into the can. I'm just going to make sure that they do get a good cover, so I'm just going to shake them around in there. Okay, and then I will do the same with all of the others, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to go and hang it on something so that it can dry. Okay, and so I have taken each of these off of their wires. I coated them with 3 coats of Varathane, leaving an hour between each coat, and now I've left them overnight to dry, and now I've just taken them off of the wires. And so now we are ready to string, and I've just planned out the necklace on this beading board here, as you can see. And you want your longest line to be on the outside and your smallest line to be on the inside. And then I have some beads, these little bone rondelles, and you can get these off of Fire Mountain Gems if you're looking for them. So I'm going to start with line number 1, which will be our zebra, and I'm using hemp today and silver findings. And now I'm just going to use one of these crimps, which are really nice because you can just pinch them, but they leave a really nice finish. And these you can get off of Fire Mountain Gems too. I'm just going to give this a squeeze. I might actually need some finer pliers, so let me go and get that quickly. Okay, so I'm just going to use some round nose pliers to get in here. You just want to pinch this middle part tight, and that should clasp onto your cord. And then just give your cord a slight pull. If it doesn't give way, then you've crimped it correctly. Okay, and then just leave that end like that. And now with the zebra, I'm going to go with these nice light brown rondelles, I do think. Or should I go with these ones? I think I'm going to go with these ones down here. So I'm going to string 2 of those. And some of them can be a little tricky. So let me just string these on quickly. Okay, I had to swap it out for a smaller piece of hemp because these rondelles holes weren't quite happy with it. So I'll string on 2 rondelles, and then I will string on one of our beads. Then another 2 rondelles, and another one of the beads, and then so on until I've used up all of my zebra stripe beads. Okay, and then once you're done stringing the entire thing, what you'll do is you will grab one of those crimps again, and this time slide it all the way down because you want a nice tight fit, so I don't want to trim the cord just yet. And then just hold up your necklace to let gravity do the work, and then push your crimp up. Then use your pliers to really give it a good squeeze on both ends, and then give a slight pull, and you can see that that one isn't completely crimped yet, so just slide it back down and crimp it a bit harder. And then pull it up, and if it doesn't pull up, then it's nice and secure. Then I'll use my pliers to get in there nice and close and trim. And there is your first part of the necklace. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring over 2 end bars and I'm just moving this out the way. 2 jump rings, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a jump ring, attach it to this, and I'm going to attach it to the outside of the end bar. And I'll repeat on the same on this side, attach it to the outside of the end bar. Okay, and that is our first part. Now we need to do another 2 like this, and then each one you will attach to the rings in the bars. So I'll go do that quickly. Okay, so I have finished attaching our pieces, and so here is what it looks like so far, as you can see, hopefully. Now we want to attach our clasp. So just take a jump ring and your clasp and attach it to the loop on your end bar. And again, you can get these off of Fire Mountain Gems. And repeat on the other side to finish your necklace. Here we are. And now let me just zoom you out quickly so you can see what this looks like. It's a little hard to show on the tile. You'll have seen at the beginning of the video what it looks like. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's looking really nice and African and just really pretty. So I do hope that this tutorial was helpful to you, and if it was, please do let me know, as that is always helpful to me. And please do share photos of what you do use in this tutorial. I always love seeing your photos. You can send them through Facebook or the website, jessymatutorials.com, and I will let you know what I think of those photos. And as always, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.